Okay, great. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. We're so glad to have you for this community conversation. Um, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Andrea Ruth, and I'm actually a member of Sarasota Strong, and I also co-chair the Aging and Resilience Committee for Sarasota Strong. And I recently took on chairing the planning committee for these community conversations. So I'm just so happy to have you with us tonight. And I want to cover a few housekeeping pieces, if I may. So if everyone could please keep your mics muted until the end, and about 7 o'clock, we'll enter into a question and answer and discussion conversation period. And at that point, I'll cue you to open your mics if you have things to comment or ask about. In the meantime, if something comes up for you during the presentations and you have a question or you have a comment, you can put that in the chat function. And we'll go back to that chat, and Annalise is really good about this, making sure that we go back to the chat and grab any conversation or comments or questions that we missed. We're recording this conversation tonight, and we're also live streaming on Facebook. So if you don't want to be on the camera, that's okay. You can just cut your video off and still listen to the conversation and join us during question and answer. And this recording is going to be available for later viewing, which I'll talk about when we wrap up tonight. So for anyone new joining us tonight, Sarasota Strong is a growing group of Sarasota County neighbors. And we're committed to learning about trauma and responding to its impact. With the epidemic, a pandemic, I should say, everything moved to virtual platforms. And we've started to reach a national and even international following of supporters and people who join these conversations. So if you're from another state or country, we welcome you to our community. We have up here our logo and some information about how to contact Sarasota Strong. You'll see our website and email there. Our mission is to promote community-wide trauma awareness through healing, education, action, and leadership. And our vision is to create a community that cares for itself. So how can you be involved? Well, you can be part of this conversation and join our community forums, our community conversations like this one, to become a part of Trauma-Informed Resilient Sarasota. You can join a working group or register for a workshop or a training at our website, www.sarasotastrong.org, or you can email us at sarasotastrong@gmail.com. Our topics are always driven by you, our community, so please email us if there's a topic related to trauma, resilience, healing that you would like for us to have a conversation about. Now, tonight's conversation is New Year, New Mind, Body, and Soul. And we know we're a little into the new year of 2022, but we really want to celebrate that this is a new year and many things can become new as we approach a new year. So tonight we're going to explore the connections between our minds and our bodies. We're going to learn how meditation can help us calm our brains and heal from stress and bring ourselves to the present moment. And we're going to hear how one trauma specialist is using trauma-informed healing techniques in our community. So let me introduce our speakers for tonight. And you see them pictured there on the screen. Dr. Chippy Ajathan is known in Sarasota, and you might have heard about her as the mindful cardiologist. She completed her cardiology fellowship at Case Western Reserve University and relocated to the Sarasota area in June of 2001. She's board certified in cardiovascular disease and nuclear cardiology. She manages all the cardiovascular diseases. But she has a clear passion for managing the unique problems of women with heart disease. After 20 years of practice, Dr. Chippy's focus on treating chronic disease has shifted, and she's going to talk about this tonight, toward lifestyle as the key to preventing, healing, and even reversing disease. Dr. Chippy says that meditation is the prescription for change, and when combined with movement, nutrition, and self-love, real transformation of the body, mind, and spirit can occur. And our other speaker tonight is Helen Neal-Ali, who some of you know is part of Sarasota Strong. She does a lot of workshops and healing conversations for us. And Helen is a level 2 certified trauma specialist. She motivates individuals and groups through personal and community empowerment training. Her most recent workshops have been teaching participants to empower the wisdom they have inside of themselves to be the best that they can be. And she offers interactive workshops designed to help people change patterns of thought and behavior shaped by traumatic experiences. Helen's workshop topics include understanding trauma, how we think, the roles of our feelings and emotions, recognizing moods, and understanding separate and distinct realities. So with that, I just want to introduce our first speaker. And again, we're going to ask you to, if you have a question, put it in the chat or hold it until the end of the night, where we will give you an opportunity to ask those questions, and we'll have a discussion as a community, which is the juicy part of these community conversations. So Helen, I'm going to ask you, are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, thanks.
All right, thank you, Andrea, for that introduction. And I want to just say hello to everyone. I'm going to share my screen in a little bit, but before I share my screen, I want to tell you about the trauma healing that I've been doing in Sarasota. But I want to back up a little bit. 26 years ago, I was suffering with a 38-year traumatic past that I had been dealing with. And I learned something in 1996 that changed my life. And I immediately recognized how I think. You know, someone didn't tell me what I thought, but in this workshop, I learned how I thought and how I held on to my thinking. And I was holding on to everything that had happened to me, every issue or everything that happened to me bad, I was holding on to it. And it was taking me out till I was physically sick. I was mentally sick. My blood pressure was high. I was taking Xanax and Tylenol for mental illness. I had a couple of nervous breakdowns. Things just went to going wacky with my body, and I didn't understand what was going on until I went to this workshop and realized that I was holding on to things that were no longer real, no longer happening, but they were thoughts that I was holding on. So fast forward in about 3 years ago, and I think now in 2019, 2018, I started working with Center for Religious Tolerance, working in churches. We met up with Pastor Joe there in Sarasota at Community Bible Church, and we did our first letting go of a traumatic past 8-week training. When I went in there, the women were, were really holding on to things that they had had in the past for years, and we went to talking about how we hold on to past hurts, and I started teaching them how to think. And I'm going to share my screen and show you the thing that set them free. And it set so many people that I have worked with free. Okay, let me get it here. Hold on one second. I don't want to share yet. I I think I accidentally took my paper away. I sure did. Hold on one second. All right, there we go. Now we can share. Okay, there we go. So when I was talking to the ladies and they were all, this is kind of on, this is a one-shot screen. So, and thanks to Annalise, we want to give her the shout out because she designed this from what I have been doing. Oh Lord, it got big on us, but we'll see. I wanted to make it a little bigger, but not that big. But you could, I'll make this work. So as you can see, this is the thought cycle. When we started talking about how people thought and how they process thinking, that's when life began to change for me. A matter of fact, I had been in an abusive relationship and I was holding on to the thought that this person was a real bad person, evil, and my feelings were really feeling angry and upset with him. And my behavior was that I was having what they call panic attacks, and I had a couple of nervous breakdowns. And the results of that was that I started taking Xanax and Topinil over here and seeing my psychiatrist. There it is, a little bit better. Seeing my psychiatrist and going to group therapy and this. And then when I do that, I think about that person again up there to the thought, and I say, oh, it's because of him I'm doing this. And I was riding this negative wheel for 38 years of what had happened to me. But in that class that day, the lady said to me, and at the bottom of the screen, you can say, when we have a thought, we automatically get a feeling. Those two are connected. If I'm having a happy thought, I'm gonna have a happy feeling. I'm having a negative thought, I'm gonna have a negative feeling. I'm having a sad thought, a sad feeling. Those are connected automatically. And then usually we follow that by a behavior, some kind of way we react to that. And then there's a result. The result can be positive and negative. If you remember that a thought is just a thought, it is not reality, you can break the cycle. And this is how I started healing and broke the cycle of my head. That started my healing when I realized that every thought that popped into my head, I did not have to entertain. I didn't have to take it so serious, especially if it was something that had happened 20 some years ago, or really 30 years ago. I remember when I go in and I share with people and I always tell my story, because it's nothing like a good testimony or a good somebody's story to see how they overcame, to kind of help you have hope that you can overcome too. And that's what I try to do in my workshops. So I shared that my dad had abused my mom. I grew up in domestic violence, and my dad had abused my mom until I was 21 years old. When I was 21 years old, he was diagnosed with cancer, and the trauma, I mean, the domestic violence stopped. But in my mind, because I had witnessed this from birth to 21, I still was upset and hating my dad. And I was riding that negative wheel so long. And I share this with people. And then when I ended up 38 and I learned about this wheel, I was saying, oh, I'm thinking about my dad abusing my mom. He hasn't done that for what? That's 17 years. I've been holding on to something that wasn't even my stuff. It was what happened between my parents. They were happy. They were having a good life. Their lives had changed. This wheel here, I've watched so many people since I've been working in Sarasota, and not only in Sarasota, for the 26 years I've been doing this, I've been watching people just evolve from just recognizing that whatever's holding me back right now is just a thought. It's not real. And they've been getting set free and healed. I've watched people pop and they have it, I'm going to have that thought. Don't get me wrong. And I make sure I say this. Whatever has happened to us, we're going to always remember it. It doesn't go away, but it's just a thought. If it's not happening now, and then what has been very productive in people healing is that I say you got to come in the present. If it's not happening now, it's just a thought. And once people started realizing that, they started letting go of a lot of things, a lot of different things that have happened. I've had people upset with their parents, been in bad relationships, have fears, and I've watched them just recognize it's not happening now. It's just a thought. And that one little thing, and then we all have inside of us that spirit and that power, that wisdom to move forward. And don't get me wrong, some people need to be, and I'm sure Dr. Cheffy will talk about that. Some people need to be on medication if they have some chemical imbalance or something going on, or PTSD, and they need that extra help. I don't stop people from that. but sometimes it's people like myself that just have been through traumatic experiences and not really needing that medication. Because when I got on medication myself, because I really didn't need the medication, it was the trauma that I was holding on to and the unforgiveness. I wasn't forgiving that person and holding on to it. When I took the medication, I got sicker, more mentally. It disturbed me more because it wasn't nothing chemical going on up here. It was just my thoughts. It was me holding on to those past hurts. Another thing that I do, I did a lot of churches in Sarasota. I did maybe about 3 or 4 churches, definitely Community Bible Church. And I watched that church just turn around now that they're using this and helping other people. When I first did the ladies, there was a group of ladies that came through and did a training, 8-week training. After I finished with them, the men were like, what do you do to our wives? We want to train. So then we did a men's training. And then we did a united train the trainer training for them. And the next thing I know, one day the ladies called me and said, well, we're going to do a community workshop, and it's going to be called Out with the Old, In with the New. And they did that all based on this. And I saw this church just evolve. And now they're doing women's groups. One of the ladies has stepped up and is leading a women's group. A gentleman that, which their brother and sister, that which is so amazing. He jumped up and he's doing a men's group. And then we started a kids group there. So it's been a lot of good things. I'm watching kids that had some little bad behaviors, and just in a few weeks we're working with them and teaching them how they think and how they can make better choices than choosing to act on those. That's what I was going to say. We can have that thought, but we can have the feeling, but we don't have to act. We don't have to have the behavior, which will lead to the result. And that's what I even teach kids. And I've watched kids, hey, well, I better change this. This is not working for me. I need to do something different. So some people, I remember I was doing, I'm going to stop sharing this right now and talk a little bit, and then I'm going to share something else with you. I was talking at that event that they had at Community Bible, where the ladies were talking about the out with the old, in with the new. Well, there was another church there, and they were saying, oh, we don't need this. My pastor got us. We just got this going on. We don't need none of this. And so that was on a Saturday. By Monday morning, the pastor from that church was calling me and said, we need you. Because one of her members got up, because even though we're in the church, and this is the spiritual part, even though we're in the church, it's a lot of baggage in the church. People are carrying a lot of things, a lot of hurt, and she said one of her ministers got up and said that he didn't feel worthy to be up there because he had so much stuff going on. He had so much trauma and bad things that happened. And I ended up doing 3 sessions for them. They did a group, 8-week training, and then they also had their whole congregation come in and do one of the letting go of a traumatic past workshops. And I saw that church turn around. And then one thing that I got from working with churches is that the pastors of these churches started to be able to recognize trauma in their parishioners. They started to be able to see it in the kids. They started to be able to see it in their parishioners. And Pastor Joe, which I don't know if she's on, this was really her spot that I'm taking today. But she said that the one thing she realized is that she was thinking that they should just hear her and change, or they should just hear this Bible scripture and change. But after going through a trainer class, she saw her parishioners so different, and she saw it deeper. She saw that they needed healing. She saw that they needed to understand their thinking. And they have a giant thought cycle that they use in their church that are really nice. Someone made one. They were so impressed with and they use it in their groups. They use it with people in the community that they come out and work with. And one more thing, when I'm working with churches, sometimes I go secular, I go into the schools, I go into housing authority. I did housing authority, as a matter of fact, before I even got into the churches. And I work with some ladies in housing authority. I'm now working with some seniors. I work with McGowan Towers seniors, and they decided that with their wisdom that came out of them healing and moving on, they decided to do bingo and Bible study, and it's still going. And they're doing it a year later. They're still kind of doing their thing. I just started working with Sarah Casa Santa Marta over in Sarasota, and we started out with maybe about 4 really committed ladies. And then after they kind of got healed, they started reaching out to other residents there at Casa Santa Marta. I'm so pleased to say that we had probably about 14 people the last time that I met. We had some Hispanic and English speaking, and which we never had the Hispanic first. So we had maybe 5 or 6 Hispanic that came in, and one lady even translated for us. And I'm watching them heal, and they're bringing their community together. So one thing that Sarasota wants to do is have a community that cares about itself. And as I watch these little housing projects, and also the seniors in their resident community, they're pulling the together. Now they decided to do, okay, and they start, oh yeah, that's right, thank you, Annalise. And we do have these materials in Spanish as well, since we are starting to work with Hispanic. We have that thought wheel in Spanish. So if anybody wants this, just let us know, and we can get these out to you. There's some other little things about separate realities and different things. I won't get tonight into all of that, but there are the other little materials that we have. She has also translated into Spanish for the Spanish speaking population. One more thing I want to share with you: when I go into the churches, a lot of time, because it was Bible and it was scripture, and so I said, there are even some scriptures in here that tell us not to worry. And they were like, oh yeah. So I'm going to share some of those before I go, because my time is almost up here. I'm going to share my screen again. And this is really what got some of the churches really seeing it different and starting to use these scriptures when they were having anxiety issues and different things going on with them. So I said worry, anxiety, and these were Bible verses that I came up to back up. So I'm so excited that I can do this, not only in the secular, for those that don't believe, just teach you how to think, teach you about separate realities, teach you about your moods, and just kind of the way you can understand them. Because once we understand and we know better, we can do better and we can feel better. Because once I learned this, I started feeling better. And I immediately, I was down. I had hit rock bottom. I had lost everything on welfare, everything. But when I learned this, I immediately took my food stamps and started sharing it with my neighbors. Hey, come here, you guys thinking. Let me tell you about this new workshop I went through. And it just kind of built. Within 6 months of me learning this, I started my company, Life Changing Consultant. And here I am today still doing. I felt like this was something that changed my life so much that I knew that there was other people out there that were having some traumatic things happening to them and needed some help. Here are a couple of scriptures that talks about our anxiety and stuff. It says, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God. Philippians 4:6. And as I was working in those churches, they were saying, well, I could handle it myself. When we turn it over to God, I said, look, this scripture says, turn that trouble or that thing that you're dealing with over to God. These are some more. I'm going to have to kind of move us here. We're in the middle of my little presentation now. There we go. 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and love and of a sound mind. That's one thing that did. When I learned about how I was thinking, it empowered me. I realized I had the power to not think that way, or the power to not allow this negative thought or these past things that have hurt me hold me back. I mean, it just pushed me forward. Isaiah 40:31. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Sometimes we're tired. When you're stressed out and mentally not incompetent, I've learned how to just shut down and just say, God, you'll renew my strength sooner or later. They shall mount up with wings of eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. Isaiah 41:10. Fear not, for I am with you. That was the main one, because I had forgot. I was so caught up in my depression and all, I forgot God was with me. And I was a Christian and going through that. I mean, really down, rock bottom, just forgot about my spiritual part of my being, or feeding my spirit man that I could grow. It says, do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And these just a few more. Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. I had to start even thinking that maybe I'm not feeling good right now. I'm having a bad day, but I know it's going to get better. I know, because we have over 6,000 thoughts a day, 6,000 running in our head. It's going to pass and I'm going to get better. I started looking at everything from a different point of view, a different way. Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. The Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Even in a hard time, he's there. Then Jesus, this is Luke 12:22. Then Jesus said to the disciples, therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. So I figured if he was there for all of that, I'm going to skip that one because my little time going. So I'm going to skip the question and answers because we will get that at the end as well. So what I've seen in the churches, I've seen people just totally turn around. I've seen the pastors even get so excited with this that they want their parishioners to be mentally sane or mentally healed, or even not depressed, not going through the trauma, the traumatic things of their past. Because we've all had something. Some people say, I've never had something, even if it's something small. What I realized in doing these trauma healing, something that would take me out that was big, something small might have happened to someone else. It could be just losing a loved one. It could be, the pandemic. I've seen that. That's why I wanted to go into the seniors units, because with them being shut in, the depression real set in. I really saw that. So we even danced the last time that we were there. We had music, we had pizza. Well, they're gonna eat a little bit healthier this week, Dr. Cheffy. Don't think I'm getting some wheels, some pinwheels. They're not gonna eat no pizza this time, but I'm gonna feed them a little better this next trip. But what I saw them doing was dancing, and I danced with them, and we had a ball. Just the idea of just even dancing, how it uplifted their spirits. So thank you. My time is there. I'm going to stay on target. And that was just some of the stuff that I've been doing out in the community. And any of you are welcome to do my Letting Go of a Traumatic Past workshops. They're free. You can come in and learn more about the techniques and the things that I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. And you can find those workshops again on Sarasota Strong's webpage. So thanks, Helen. Now you see why we love having Helen be part of Sarasota Strong. She's just radiant and a great community leader. So thank you. Now we're going to shift gears and go to Dr. Chippy. I introduced her before, but I wanted to tell you that I can't quote it exactly, Dr. Chippy, but the first time I talked to you on the phone about doing this tonight with us, one of the first things you said to me was something about our role in healing the world, and that love is so important. And I thought, I just met this woman and she's saying these words. So you're just such a great match for what we're up to here with Sarasota Strong, and I welcome you, and I'll just turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Sarasota Strong. And Miss Helen, I'm going to send literally all of my patients to you, because I think your transformation is going to be more than what anything medicine can offer. I tell you, that's amazing. So, I have, as you guys heard a little bit in the introduction, I have been practicing for over 20 years. And I remember a very cold day in Cleveland. I had the offer to come to Sarasota and to Bradenton, actually. And I remember driving on the Skyway Bridge and looking to my, left and looking to my right, and thought, oh my God, it was just. And at some point, I'll share the story of how I chose. It's actually a bigger story of how I ended up here. But I started my practice in medicine very objective. That's how we're trained. You are guided by double-blind, placebo-controlled trials, and you are guided by, guidelines that are specifically set by the American College of Cardiology, the American Heart Association, international guidelines, etc. And so that's how I practiced. Everything was black and white. You had this, I gave you this medication. And when you had a side effect from that medication, I gave you another medication to combat the side effect of the second and the third and the fourth. And then the polypharmacy would happen. And then we would have to sit there and figure out drug interactions. And, I was just chugging along. became a mom, and then had my second baby girl. And, my husband at the time had an incredible practice. And I remember one day I was on call, and call is just brutal. And I remember I had to get through X number of patients, and I walked in to talk to a patient, and she just, I was just very goal directed. I had 5 minutes to talk with her. I had to make the diagnosis. I had to figure out what to do, and then I had to move on to the next. And she just stopped, and she looked at me and she said, you're just shrouded in darkness. I was like completely floored. I'm thinking to myself, I'm the female cardiologist that sits down, pulls the chair, listens to your dog and what happened to your dog, and then your mother, and then your next door neighbor. Whereas the male doctors are walking in, get a 5-second history, and they're out, they're writing their notes, and they're home with their family on time. And I'm still doing my notes because I was listening to the story of the dog. And I was, really kind of taken back. And I thought, okay, whatever, I somehow got through, and I went on, and I just kind of led this sort of very objective sort of life. And then the universe has this really interesting way of kicking your butt. And I tell you, November 2014, the rug of life was pulled from underneath my feet, my children, and we just went tumbling. And this life that I had of just this grand life, this materialistic life of just a massive house on the water. At one point, I think my husband had like 6 Ferraris, a couple Lamborghinis, a Rolls Royce. That's just how he rolled. And I was just living that life. And it just came tumbling down, and I just shattered. And I looked to my girls and realized that I had no time to shatter, because I was involved in the life of these 2 souls. And I had to pick myself up. And it happened to be right between end of Christmas and New Year, and I happened to have 5 days off. And in those 5 days, I drove an hour center into Florida, and I walked into this place called Rasayana Cove. And there I had Ayurvedic treatment, and I sat there in solitude and I meditated. And it took me back to when I was 16. And where meditation was first introduced to me. I mean, it's something that, I grew up with. I come from a culture of, you meditate to find that higher self. And one of my family members, it was Swami Nitya Chaitanya Yadi. And we all sat there on the floor, and he started this meditation. And, some time in, I got my eyes closed. I'm trying to sit still, and I kind of open one eye, another eye. I'm looking around, and everybody is like sitting still. And I'm just like, oh, I guess people are still meditating. So I closed my eyes back again. And that was my introduction to meditation. But something just kind of sparked. And, I ended up actually going to India and to his ashram. And, I just, I remember being in this place, and this is where we were. This is in a place in India called Uti. And this is where, I thought to myself, this is literally paradise. I mean, it is paradise. And I thought, this is it. I'm going to give up everything. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a nun. And of course, my parents, I was an only child, had nothing to do with that. And so then I remember in the periods that I was meditating, I felt this like intense sense of just belonging, and just that the world was a part of me and I was part of the world. And then medical school happened. and residency happened, and then, life happened, marriage happened, kids happened, and then the marriage completely fell apart, which was just unheard of in my culture. Like in my family, nobody got divorced. And I thought that this prince of mine I was going to sail the sunset with him. And I had to completely put myself together because the trauma of it would just affect me. But there was something about the universe that when you go through something so intense, just these gifts would come. And I remember walking down the corridor from the parking garage to my office, and I would just scream and cry as I drove in, got to the parking garage. I would put makeup back on and fix my eyes. And I was walking one day in this corridor, and this woman, and I'm not very big, and so this huge woman just came and just hugged me. And I think my head just like disappeared into her breasts. And she said, "Jesus loves you." And I thought, hallelujah. I mean, I was going to say that. I was just too stunned to say anything. And I just said, "Thank you." And I walked on, and another very intense day where my ex was just in this war path, and I didn't even know why, because I have no idea why I went from paradise to hell in literally a split second. I remember walking in, this massive bouquet of flowers just showed up on and the person who sent it had no idea I was going through this. A friend of mine called that I hadn't spoken to in 25 years. And what's strange is that he called me, and I never thought about him. And that night, the morning that he called me, that like 2 hours before, I remembered his name and thought to myself, "Oh, I wonder how he was doing." And these incredible series of events, and this life coach fell into my lap. And I mean, my stories, I have so many stories. And I rebuilt myself brick by brick, brick, mortar, brick, mortar. And I came out of it like this phoenix rising from the ashes. And I remember running into one of the pulmonologists in town saying, "I've got to do something. I've got to give back, because there was a reason that my life went to shit. And I build myself up because I have to give back." And right around this time, the hospital approached me and said, "We want to do this program called the Dean Ornish program. And, can you just look at the data?" And I was still, of course, sort of in this objective mind, and I'm looking at the data. I'm like, he's created this program out of like 20 patients. Like, that's ridiculous. I reviewed the data, and then I went for training, and just completely blown over with the power of thought, stress management, love, connection, food, movement. And we are now years into Dean Ornish, and the transformative stories, it's just incredible. A patient with severe congestive heart failure, they couldn't even get up from the chair to go to the bathroom, emailed us saying, "I'm taking a cross-country trip with my grandson," a grandson that he had barely knew, because he didn't have the strength to do anything. He couldn't breathe. I remember a patient telling me that he drove, or he relocated. He was a lawyer, and he relocated from up north and found us in Sarasota. And the night before he was supposed to start the program, he decided, okay, this is Sarasota. I got to walk the Siesta Beach and walk to Siesta. He took 10 steps and he couldn't do it. And towards the end of the program, he was walking all the way down and back, and he became such a huge spokesperson for us. The story after story, including my disbelief that this is actually powerful, because I had a patient who insisted on doing the program, but here was a problem. He had lots of blockages in his heart, lots of blockages. And we said, "Look, you need bypass surgery." And he said, no, aren't you doing this Dean Ornish program? I want to do that. I said, "Yeah, but like literally you're breathing and having chest pain. Like, please, let's just do the bypass surgery. And I promise I will take you through the program." And he was so adamant that, against my better judgment, I thought, okay, fine. You know what? I'm the medical director. That's fine. I'm going to do it. Go ahead, do the program. The first session, I get a panic phone call from the staff, Dr. Chippy, your patient is having severe arrhythmia. And when we're talking arrhythmia, we're not talking like a few beats that are out of sync. His arrhythmia is the arrhythmia that you see before somebody codes and dies. And he was just having runs of it, and he would just stop exercising, wait a little bit, and get back on the treadmill. They're like, no, you can't get back on the treadmill. You're literally like, this is the pre-death arrhythmia. You can't. And he rallied, and finally, after like a few more sessions, they're like, we can't have him here. He is a liability to the hospital. He's a liability to the program. He has chest pain every single time. And so finally I said, look, I'm so sorry, but I don't think we can help you. Fast forward just 2 years ago, I get this long letter, and it took me a while to register. But when I started reading the story, this email of how I had no faith, and I had no faith in the program that I started, and I am so-and-so, and you kicked me out of the program because you thought I was going to die. Well, I am not dead. I am vibrant. I go out with my wife. I eat healthy. I have zero angina. And I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not dead. And I thought, you know what? Lesson learned. Thank you. And so this is a program that we're running. And recently we started a program at the hospital called Renew, where it's not as intensive as Dean Ornish, but we slowly get people to start to understand that the food you put into your body, the thoughts you put into your body, how you love, how you connect, how you move is so fundamental to your health. And so if you look at the neuroscience of thought, Miss Helen talked about thought. Your thought, every cell in your body is listening to you. So when you say to yourself, I am sick, guess what? It will happen. When you say to yourself, I am healthy, it will happen. I have seen it. I have another story of a patient with severe esophageal cancer, severe cancer. And she went through this incredibly complicated surgery that if it wasn't for the incredible expertise of Dr. Meredith, she would not be here. And she was so happy, she was so excited, and months later, she couldn't swallow again. And she got readmitted to the hospital. And I remember I saw her the morning before her endoscopy, and she had this look in her face, and she said, I think it's back. I mean, what else could it be? I can't swallow. And I said, no, it is not back. I want you to have faith so intensely that it is not cancer. And I want you to close your eyes and imagine that there's a white light that comes and it goes into your esophagus and it just heals. And you are going to be okay. And I guess I must have said it with some degree of conviction, because she had the endoscopy and it was just scar tissue that they dilated. I mean, everybody was convinced it was cancer, and it wasn't. And she's perfectly fine to this day, because that is the power of thought. Because at every moment we are creating you. You are creating you at every moment. And that creation is based on your thought. So you can think just like you eat food that nourishes you. The thoughts that you think also nourishes you. So what is your thought going to be? And that thought becomes reality, because that thought is generating chemicals in your brain. And those chemicals are going into your bloodstream. And that bloodstream is bathing every 30 trillion cells in your body. And you know, at each moment, you can create you. Because in this 1 second, you have created 3.8 million new cells in 1 second. At the end of one day, you will have created 330 billion cells. So at each moment, you can create you. You can be what you want to be. And, you know, in listening to Helen, I just want to say that, you know, not letting go is like holding on to a sack of potatoes. And it's heavy, but it's all right. It's a sack of potatoes. And you're holding on to it. And then 2 weeks later, you're holding on to it. And now it's sprouting. And then 2 months later and 2 years later, your sack of potato, you're still holding on to it, but it's rotting. and it stinks everything about you. And so for me, when I came out of my pain and my trauma, I walked into another patient's room and she just stopped and said, "Dr. Chippy, you look different." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "You have this air of just love and this light." She's like, "I have never seen you like this before. And I have been seeing you for years and years. Look at you. You're just this light." And I thought, oh, thank you, God, right? We create that. We create our aura. So who do we want to be? And that is the power of our thought. And how do you have control? That's where meditation comes in. And you know, I am so broken by what is happening and how the most powerful man in the world has chosen to express his power with hate and bombing a sovereign nation just because he can. And to me, we have to transform. And when we transform with love and healing, and you create that aura, it actually transforms people around you. And when we transform through one of the strongest tools being the power of meditation, you transform your community and you transform the world. And isn't that what is needed in this time when we are just killing because we can, because of some faulty ideology where a human thinks he is God and he is so disconnected from the source of the divine, even though that divine is within him and it is within all of us. It is there for us to know and to feel, but we have just covered it all. And you know, I love the saying that has gotten me through in the darkest times is that the sun shines on the diamond and the coal equally. The coal just sucks it in and absorbs, and the diamond reflects back. And so we are all within us, this incredible source of divinity. And we can be that. We can be that beacon. And in the society, starting with just Sarasota and just extending outward. So I thought tonight we can do a guided meditation. And for those of you that have not meditated, it's okay. And when your thoughts run wild, as Miss Helen said, it's a thought and it's just a thought. And it's like you're blowing bubbles. The minute you touch the bubble bursts. And just like that, if you know that you've got these thoughts coming in, let it be, let it go, and then come back to where we are. And a thought comes in because you got the grocery list and you're not sure if you took out the garbage and you got to pack up and you're not sure, did you schedule that? Did you reply to that email? That's okay. Let it go and come back to this moment. And when this moment leaves you, let it go again. And so with that, I thought we would do a good 10-minute meditation, but I do want us to prime a little bit. So find a comfortable position. And if you need to lay down, that's all right, but just be warned. I've been told that my voice has made people go to sleep. So sitting upright with your back straight would be the most ideal. And I would ask you that if you're gonna wiggle now. Because in stillness is where the peace happens. And you have to negate your body. And only when you negate your body do you settle the senses. And only when you're able to somewhat settle the senses can you go deeper and deeper within. So eyes closed, or you can leave it open. Just like that, tell yourself that you are arrived to this moment. and just let go. Let go of any notions. Let go of any thoughts that are entering in, and just focus on this moment. And going in, scan the body. And wherever there are regions of tension, just consciously release. And when you are ready, take a slow, deep breath in till your lungs are full. And from the very top, just let go and release. And again, slow breath in till those lungs are completely and fully expanded. When you get way up to the top, and let go. Let go of the day, the month, the year, and simply allow your breath to flow. Let it find its balance. Breathing in and breathing out. And anchor yourself to that in-breath as it comes in. And find that space at the top where there is no breath. And wherever that release happens, as the exhale, and again there's a space in between where there's no breath. And again, allow that breath to come in without any effort on your part. Your body knows what to do. And as you breathe in and as you breathe out, allow yourself to go deeper within. Eyes closed and looking out, there is this vast space that radiates from you in all directions, and you are in the center as a radiant light. And in this space is pure grace. As you breathe in, take that in. And as you breathe out, let go of anything that doesn't serve you. And in the core and the center of your being is pure radiance, is the light, it's the power of the divine, the strength of the universe, as there is no difference between you and the stars above. For we are all that. That energy that comes from you is the energy that fuels the planets. Breathing in and out. Allow yourself to go deeper into this realm of pure love. You are a spirit that is unbounded, pure essence, an expression of the absolute. Breathing in and out. If you lose focus, that's okay. Come back to the breath. And in the last moments of this meditation, see if that peace, that love, and that grace can permeate every part of your being, the very depths of you. And when you're ready, open your eyes and come back to your senses and back to where we are. Hopefully you guys have just an inkling of peace, and the more and more you do, that it leaves a little residue. And the more you do, the more you build up that residue of peace and love and strength and beauty and grace and integrity and interconnectedness, and a sense that we are all part of this fabric of life, threads that are woven together. And that's how we have to be. And that's the message from me to all of you. And so grateful for Sarasota Strong to just create this initiative. It's such an incredible message that so resonates with me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Chippy. Andy Blanche put in the chat. That was delicious. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for participating in this. And now we want to give you a chance to make comments or ask questions of either one of our presenters tonight, either Helen or Dr. Chippy. And just want to let you know that you can come off mute if you have a question. If you don't feel like saying it, you can put it in the chat and we'll read it. But we want to give you the real purpose of these evenings is to have a conversation. So we want to open this up to our community and see if you have any questions or comments.
Looks like
Okay,
Deb
Deb
Bush.
Bush, I see that you have a comment.
Yes, hi. First of all, thank you both so much. And thank you, Andrea, for inviting me. I've known Andrea for almost 20 years. So just really great. Thank you. So just a quick background. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 47 years. The last 20 years, I worked with a cardiology group in the Midwest, and the area that I worked in the most was with heart failure. And I started one of the heart failure programs in our area. And why I'm so moved and love this is because one of the cardiologists that I worked with was all about people's quality of life,
Mhm.
and he was heart failure was his expertise. And so out of conversations that I had with patients in really speaking about quality of life, we got to get to some of the things that Helen talked about, and then Dr. Chippy as well. You know, we we're an air we do a lot of studies, and knowing that meditation and yoga definitely impact heart rhythm, can impact your quality of life. It was just something that we added on to our program. So I wanted to ask I actually do have a question for Dr. Chippy. So what now in terms of like guidelines? I know with heart failure, we have the quality of life surveys that we do, the Kansas City cardiomyopathy and the Minnesota quality of life. But what right now is being taught in medical school? I know in nursing school, it's not, having conversations with people about quality of life is not um, taught um, per se, but what is happening right now with med schools and with guidelines that you're aware of?
I mean, the American Heart Association did come out with a position statement on reviewing some of the data of meditation and improvement of cardiovascular health, which I was really pretty excited to see that an organization such as the AHA could actually come out with a statement. Of course, they say, well, there aren't like X studies to support this, but we feel that this is a meaningful way to go. So, unfortunately, allopathic medicine, as we know, it's very very black and white. And if you don't have a randomized control trial to show you that there's a benefit, it doesn't catch on. And you're also dealing with physicians that have been trained to just to be very objective, and to them meditation is this foo-foo thing, and it's so unfortunate. And I don't see, maybe I don't want to be pessimistic. I'm hoping that the change, the paradigm shift that happens in medicine is actually not going to happen at the doctor level, at the training level. It's going to happen in the community level. So because when I started shifting my practice towards, hey, maybe we shouldn't focus so much on medicine. Why don't we focus on who you are, and how you got to here, and what are the events in your past that brought you to this path of where you are right now, ill. And it's sort of spread in the community. And now I have patients, they're like, oh, you're the cardiologist that doesn't want to take a statin. I'm like, no, no, not that. But, I will work with you if you don't want to take a statin, right? So I have this reputation. And so it has to be, I think, a grassroots efforts, because you're just not going to have a bunch of, physicians that are going to embrace this. And I say, I am a little pessimistic, but even within my practice, I have started to see some shifting. And we do have physicians here and there, just, understanding the power of stress, and what it does to the body, not just the heart, but the entire body as a whole. So I think the effort has to be grassroots, and I think it has to be a community effort. I just don't see the medical establishment changing anytime soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Deb. And I guess I would like to have a follow-up to that, Dr. Chippy, and Deb, you may want to weigh in on this, or others on the call, about, it always seems to me that the neurosciences, the neurologist would speak to the other specialties like cardiologists and talk about this connection, then maybe there could be more acceptance. you think are those conversations happening?
So sadly, it's not the neurologist, but it's the psychologists that are starting to, that really understand the power of this connection. So, you know, for example, there's my daughter, you know, going through the trauma that she went through. She's in a program, you know, DBT. I'm sure, you know, obviously you guys know that well. So part of DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, is mindfulness, and so it's such a core part of that. But I think there's a lot of data with regards to mindfulness and improvement in mood and depression and anxiety. So I think that's where the data is going. And, you know, frankly, I think neurologists are worse than cardiologists, even though there are, you know, there's functional MRI data showing that there's actually a reduction in the density of the amygdala. That's the part of the brain that is like the fight or flight, or holy cow, you're in danger, when, you know, your body thinks you're in danger when you're just packing to go on vacation, right? It's like danger, danger, danger. And so that when you meditate, you actually reduce the gray matter density within the amygdala, and you actually increase the connection to the prefrontal cortex. So that judgment, you know, comes in. And so there's a lot of data. But, you know, again, you're not going to see the medical community embrace it, but it's really cool to see psychiatry and more than psychiatry, psychologists embrace the power of mindfulness.
Thank you. I guess it is going to be up to us, right, to keep this conversation going at the community level.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a question or a comment? I know there are a couple things in the chat I want to go to, but I thought I would ask those of you who might want to.
I just want to, yeah, I'll just add in that it's just, I really resonated with what Dr. Chippy said, where, you know, it's really going to depend on at the individual level, because my dad was diagnosed with cardiomyopathy back in 2016, and it's actually what took his father's life and his grandfather's life. And they told my father that he essentially had 6 months to live. He has had multiple heart surgeries, changed his lifestyle and his diet, and we're now in 2022. And he is still alive. So just a testament to, you know, that, you know, there are changes that you can make on an individual level. Even when he had, you know, cardiologists telling him all of these things and giving him all these drugs that he needs to take, it really, you know, it is a sign that you need to make that change on an individual level sometimes, even if the doctors or the physicians are telling you all these other things. You know, like she said, they're kind of conditioned to be that black and white, you know, if you feel this way, get this pill. If this pill does this, then take another pill, you know. I think there can be a lot of change and impact on an individual level with mindfulness and lifestyle and diet, just as she's saying. So I'm just so thankful for tonight's presentation, is all I want to say. It just really resonated with me. So thank you, Helen and Dr. Chippy.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks, Annalise. Okay, I see Izzy Miller has her hand up.
First of all, I want to say both talks were fabulous. I gained things for my personal life or people in my life. Wish I was closer to Sarasota, but my quick question is, like, how much meditation? I just started meditating again about a week ago. So my goal is once every day, and I've started off very slowly. And I've noticed a difference even with the small amount of meditation.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and Helen, you can weigh in. I mean, to me, you know, just a journey of a you know, gazillion steps starts with one. And so, you know, it's interesting. There's some people that the effects are immediate. I actually had a patient that, you know, I told him to meditate, and he came back and he's like talking about all this stuff that's happening. And there's like a little part of me that was like a little jealous. I'm like, huh, are you okay? So I think, it's really the person, but as with anything, right, you're not going to be able to do it from the beginning. It's just practice, practice, practice. It's like climbing Mount Everest. You're just going to do it one step at a time. And I think for people to know that, I mean, obviously there's many, many, many techniques, that you just start, someone actually said microdose. Yeah, I tell people start with like 5 minutes. If you can't do 5 minutes, start with 2 minutes. Just today, I told somebody 5 minutes. And here's the thing, you can bring religion into it. You don't have to bring religion into it. To me, meditation meditation is listening to God, but but God has so many, connotations, like, to me, it's connecting with the divine. But for somebody else, it's, they just want to get rid of anxiety, and that's okay. And so you start tiny, just start with, a few minutes. And when the mind wanders, the key is not to go, oh man, like I got like 1,000 thoughts. I got 1,000,000 thoughts. Because the minute you meditate is when all the thoughts come out. But I do want to speak a little bit about individuals, like what Miss Helen said about that trauma and the pain and the not getting low that you are trapping inside. The minute you come to sit still, truth rises. And so for some individuals, if there is so much inside of you, you can't sit still and all that stuff is coming out, it's going to be very difficult to handle. So if you do want to really start the practice of meditation, I would say, if you notice that your anxiety is getting worse, or the depression is getting worse, or all these like stuff from the past is coming out, time to stop, time to get through, trauma release, trauma counseling, and then restart.
Right. And I say it's an individual thing. It's everybody's different, so you're going to have to know what works for you, and you'll know when you get there what works for you. That's another thing I tell people, because I may say do it this long and that may not work for you. So like she said, following your body and knowing. Music is my thing. I love music, and that's what takes me to another place when I'm angsty. So everybody has their own way of doing it. If I meditate, I'm busy. I'm so active meditating. I'll be like, I can't hardly do it, but give me some music. And now my whole body going with that music, and that really releases me and takes me. So that's my form of coming up. So it's kind of find your, what works for you. And here Andy says, find a good yoga flow, playlist, for the morning. That's another one. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question, Izzy. So I wanted to get to one comment in the chat from Colleen Thayer with NAMI, is that thank you for that, Dr. Chippy. We are hearing a lot of that at NAMI, and locally seeing some physicians recognizing the benefit of holistic care, that the mind issues and body issues are connected. So thanks, Colleen, for that comment. And I also had a question in the chat, and I don't know, Andy Blanche, our convener of Sarasota Strong, you may want to answer this question, and others may want to jump in, but the question comes from Elena, and she said, what are the next steps that Sarasota Strong will be taking to transition Sarasota to a trauma-informed community? So Andy, would you like to speak to that?
Sure, I'll kick it off. What I would say about that is that Sarasota Strong operates in a really organic kind of way. So we don't have preconceived ideas about how the process works and what we're going to do next. What we try to do is be with people and listen to people, and hear what issues are coming up for them, what they see as things that need to be worked on, what are the opportunities of the moment, And then we get people together to respond to what comes from the community itself. So we see it as our job not to come up with the answers, but to actually spend time in community, hanging out with people, getting to know them, getting to feel their lives, connecting with them, and then see where it all leads. And then we'll do what we can to support people in their process. So we really don't have plans ahead of time. It just really doesn't work like that. What I would say is we're committed to the grassroots kind of approach. And Dr. Chippy mentioned that that's where real change comes from. It always comes from people. You don't get real change coming from leaders. Leaders respond to what's happening among the people that they're supposed to be responsive to. So we're very committed to that, and we recognize that that there's always a balance between working on ourselves as individuals and making change in the world. What's that saying, Helen, that they say prayer without action is empty? So we try to stay grounded, like you as an individual try to stay grounded in your center by meditating and getting quiet and listening. We try to stay grounded in what we feel is happening, and then move into action from there. So that probably doesn't answer your question. Maybe somebody who didn't go so deep in meditation could respond a little more concretely, because I'm sorry, I think that was a little out there.
Well, it's great, Andy. And of course you went deep into meditation. You practice these things, so thank you. One of the things I would say, Elena, and others who are interested in what's coming next, there are a few things that we have on our website. Helen's got some more workshops coming up. We have community conversations like this every month. And we have a few ongoing committees, if you will. For instance, the one that puts these conversations together. If that's something that you're interested in, you can contact us and at SRQ Strong, and we'll connect you with committees. I see that my co-chair for the Aging and Resilience Committee, Antoinette Johnson's on the call today, and Antoinette and I share a really fun group of older adults and younger adults who are interested in older adults. And we look at things that we can do in the community and hear from the community about their needs, especially around older adults and caregivers. So there are a lot of places where you can plug in if you go to our website. We are about out of time. I think that we can probably take one or two more comments or questions, and then I have a couple of announcements for you. Antoinette, you had a question?
No,
Comment?
no, a comment, which maybe is a moot point, but I'm just wondering, however, if we want to mention the deeper dive that we're going to do next month into what we experienced tonight. And thank you, both presenters. Fabulous, beautiful meditation. Thank you.
Yeah, so since you teed that up, I will go ahead and make that announcement. Thank you. That's okay. That's how you and I work together. So we're changing our format a little bit for our community conversations. We're going to try to do one a month on Zoom, like this one, virtually. And then the following month, we're going to take a deeper dive into the previous month's conversation, the Zoom conversation, and try to do that in person. So Dr. Chippy has graciously agreed to meet with us again, only this time in person for those of you who are comfortable with that. It'll be March 28th. So that's the last Monday of the month. That's when all of these community conversations are held. March 28th, 6 to 7:30 p.m. We're going to gather at the Community Bible Church, which Helen mentioned earlier. And we'll have Dr. Chippy take us through a longer meditation and get into this conversation a little bit deeper about the benefits of meditation and some of the other work that she does. So I want to invite you to that, and we'll put the additional details on our website, and Annalise is telling me that they will be shared and sent out with the recording too for those of you who are on our email list. If you registered for this event, you're on the email list. so you will get that notice. Anything else? Any other questions or comments? Did I get everything out of the chat? Anybody?
One thing I just want to point out is Dr. Chippy did put in there that she does have guided meditations on Zoom every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. You just have to register at her website. So just didn't want anyone to miss that if they didn't happen to see it in the chat there.
Thank you.
Yes, and we love that because that's actually how I heard about Dr. Chippy. Is we have some colleagues who participate in that Wednesday night meditation. So we're just so grateful to you, Dr. Chippy, for being here, and Helen for being here with us and really sharing what you've been up to in the community and with the churches. And I just want to thank you again for being with us tonight, both of you. And thanks for all of you who attended and engaged in the conversation. Thanks for your attention. And I hope that meditation allows you a really good night's rest. So I want to remind you that this was recorded and it will be available for later viewing for anybody who missed a piece of it, or if you want to share it with a friend, you can do that. That'll be on our website and also on our Facebook page, and Annalise will send the recording out through the email, the link to the recording. You can view this immediately if you want to go to our Facebook live videos and look at the archives. We have a lot of our community conversations on there, and you can access this one immediately. Again, you can sign up for our mailing list on our website or by simply emailing us. So that's the website again is www.srqstrong.org. And the email, Annalise, will you remind us what the email is? Oh, I've got it. Sorry. Sarasota Strong. So all written out, one word, sarasotastrong@gmail.com.
Whoops, I put it in the chat there. I just realized I sent it in a direct message. I thought I was sending it to everyone. So sorry about that.
That's all right. I found it in my notes. Thank you. And again, we appreciate your participation here. We are very grassroots driven. And if you have ideas or comments or things that you think we should consider for Sarasota Strong's work, please, please, please email us and send us your comments. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here again. I hope you get a good night's rest post meditation.
Yes.
And please, please, please shine that light. As Dr. Chippy and I were talking earlier, the people of Ukraine need us. They need us to do that for them. So we send good light to the people of Ukraine. With that, I want to thank our speakers. If you take yourselves off mute, we can clap for them.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
28th. See you on March 28th.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye.